The recording starts with breathing, not screaming, not crying, just breathing. It's shaky and wet, like someone trying not to sob into the receiver. There's a faint hum in the background, electric, steady. Then a dispatcher's voice cuts in, calm and trained. 911, what's your emergency? Silence, a swallow, and then a whisper so quiet you almost miss it. He's in the room. The line stays open for 19 more seconds. No struggle, no scream, just breathing. And then it stops. My name is Daniel Mercer, and for the past 11 years I've worked as a communications supervisor at the County Emergency Center in Ashford, Oregon. We're a small town tucked between long stretches of pine forest and the kind of highways that feel endless at night. Population just under 12,000, quiet, uneventful. Most of the calls we get are predictable. Drunk drivers on Route 6, heart attacks, domestic disputes, once in a while, a lost hiker from Silver Ridge. But on October 14th at 11:37 p.m., we received a call from a woman named Laura Bennett, and I haven't slept properly since. It was raining that night, not a storm, just a steady cold drizzle that made the streetlights outside the dispatch center glow like blurred halos. I was finishing paperwork when one of my newer operators, Megan Torres, flagged me down. "Supervisor, you need to hear this." Her face wasn't panicked. It was pale. She rewound the recording, breathing, the hum, the whisper. "He's in the room." The address came through on the system automatically, 1458 Willow Creek Drive, a quiet suburban cul-de-sac on the north end of town, middle-class homes, 2-car garages, porch lights left on all night. Officers were dispatched within 90 seconds. Standard response time. They arrived in under 6 minutes. The front door was locked. No signs of forced entry. The house was dark except for a lamp glowing in an upstairs bedroom window. They knocked. No answer. They forced the door. Laura Bennett was found sitting upright on her bed, dead. No visible injuries, no blood, no signs of struggle. Her cell phone was still in her hand. The call timer read 0019. Laura Bennett was 34, a high school art teacher. Recently divorced, no criminal history, no restraining orders, no documented mental health crises. Her neighbors described her as quiet but friendly. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death as cardiac arrhythmia, sudden and catastrophic. No drugs in her system, no toxins, no trauma, natural causes, except nothing about that call felt natural. I listened to it at least 20 times that week. Each time I tried to catch something new in the background, a footstep, a second breath, fabric shifting. There was that hum, consistent, low, mechanical. Megan thought it might have been a ceiling fan, but the responding officers reported no fan running in the bedroom, just a bedside lamp, and silence. I requested access to the body cam footage from Officer Harris, the first to enter the house. I wasn't supposed to review it. It wasn't technically an open investigation anymore, but Harris owed me a favor. The footage starts at the front door, rain hitting his jacket, flashlight beams slicing through the darkness. The house looks ordinary. Beige walls, family photos still hanging, though half of them had clearly once included a husband who'd since been removed. The beam moves upstairs. You can hear the wood creaking under his boots. He reaches the bedroom. The door is half open. "Ma'am?" he calls out. No response. He pushes the door wider. Laura is sitting on the edge of the bed, back straight, head slightly tilted as if listening to something only she can hear. Her eyes are open. The phone rests against her cheek. The room is dim, lit only by that single lamp on the nightstand, and then, for just a second, the camera glitches, a static ripple across the screen. When the image stabilizes, nothing has changed, except the lamp flickers once. Harris later told me he didn't notice that in real time, but I did. The strange part didn't start until 3 days later. We received another 911 call, 11:41 p.m. Same heavy breathing, different voice, male this time, younger. 911, what's your emergency? The operator asked it twice. The man whispered, hoarse and terrified, "He's in the room." The address flashed on our screen, 1432 Willow Creek Drive, 2 houses down from Laura Bennett's. The caller was a college student home for the weekend, name Ethan Doyle. Officers arrived in 4 minutes, front door locked, no signs of forced entry. Ethan was found in his upstairs office chair, facing his computer, dead, no trauma, no struggle, phone still in his lap. Call duration 00022, cardiac arrest. He was 21, healthy, no known conditions. That's when it stopped being coincidence. I pulled the audio from both calls and layered them together. The breathing patterns were different, the room acoustics slightly distinct, but the hum, identical. Same pitch, same rhythm, same faint electrical undercurrent. It wasn't a ceiling fan, it wasn't a refrigerator. It sounded closer to fluorescent lighting, but both homes used standard LED fixtures. I started losing sleep. Not from fear, at least that's what I told myself, but from obsession. I ran waveform analyses, cross-referenced utility data for electrical surges in that neighborhood. Nothing abnormal until I noticed something small. Both homes were built by the same contractor in 2008, and both had undergone electrical rewiring in the past year. Same company, Northwest Integrated Systems. I drove out to their office on the edge of town, a squat grey building near the lumber yard. I told them I was reviewing records for a safety audit. The receptionist barely looked up. "We did routine smart home upgrades," she said. "Security integration, voice-activated lighting, nothing invasive." "Any kind of in-room monitoring?" She frowned. "No, sir. I asked for the technician assigned to Willow Creek Drive. His name was Samuel Cade. She told me he'd resigned 2 months ago. No forwarding address." That night I went home later than usual. My house sits at the far edge of town, closer to the tree line. It's quiet there, too quiet sometimes. I made a mistake. I listened to the calls again, in the dark, headphones on, breathing, the hum, the whisper. "He's in the room." And then I heard something I hadn't noticed before. Right after Laura's whisper, barely audible, a second sound, not breathing, not movement, a soft shift, like fabric brushing against drywall. My skin went cold. I rewound it, listened again. There it was, not coming from her, coming from somewhere else in the room. The third call came a week later, 11:39 p.m. Different operator this time, same whisper. "He's in the room. Address 1466 Willow Creek Drive, 3 houses down from Laura's. This one was a retired couple. Only the husband was home. He was found in the hallway outside his bedroom, dead, phone in hand. No forced entry, no trauma, cardiac failure. 3 houses, same cul-de-sac, same builder, same electrical contractor, and every time, that hum." I drove to Willow Creek that night, parked at the end of the cul-de-sac under the excuse of routine patrol observation. The rain had stopped, but the air smelled metallic and damp. Porch lights glowed in neat rows, windows dark. It looked normal. I stepped out of my car, and I heard it. Faint, low, a hum, not loud enough to notice unless you were listening for it. It seemed to vibrate in the air itself. I walked slowly along the sidewalk. The sound grew stronger near Laura's old house. It wasn't coming from inside. It was coming from above. I looked up. On the utility pole at the center of the cul-de-sac, mounted just beneath the transformer, was a small black device. No markings, no company logo, just a dark lens facing downward, watching. I reported it the next morning. The power company denied installing anything new, no permits, no service records. By the time an officer went back to inspect it, the device was gone, like it had never been there. I should have stopped digging. I should have let it become one of those strange, unsolved clusters that fade into rumor. Instead, I found Samuel Cade. He was living 2 counties over in a rundown motel near I-84. He looked thinner than his employee photo, nervous. When I mentioned Willow Creek Drive, he went silent. "They didn't tell you?" he asked. "Tell me what?" He stared at the carpet. The upgrade wasn't just smart lighting, it was an ambient response system, experimental, supposed to detect emotional spikes, stress, fear. It would adjust lighting, temperature, calm the resident down. Adjust how? He swallowed. With low-frequency audio modulation, the hum. It was meant to be subliminal, barely perceptible, but during testing we noticed something. What? He looked at me then. When someone felt watched, the system responded. My chest tightened. Responded how? It amplified. Amplified what? Whatever was already in the room. I didn't understand. He leaned closer. It wasn't creating fear. It was feeding off it. That doesn't make sense. It didn't to us either. But every time a resident reported anxiety at night, the log showed a spike in the system's output, like it was reacting to something we couldn't measure. And the deaths. His voice dropped to a whisper. The system was decommissioned, supposedly. Supposedly? He shook his head. I resigned after Laura Bennett. I checked my watch. 11:36 p.m. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Static. Then breathing. My blood froze. 911. What's your emergency? I said automatically. Silence. Then a whisper. He's in the room. The call metadata populated on my laptop screen. It wasn't coming from Willow Creek. It was coming from my address. I was alone. I turned slowly. My living room was dim. Just the soft yellow light from the kitchen. The hum began. Low, steady, coming from everywhere, from the walls, from the ceiling, from inside my head. I don't see anyone, I whispered into the phone. The breathing on the other end wasn't mine. It was closer now, warmer, right behind me. And then I understood. The system didn't need devices anymore. It had learned. It wasn't amplifying what was in the room. It was responding to the belief that something was. Fear created presence. Presence deepened fear. A closed loop. Self-sustaining. I felt my heart racing, erratic. The hum intensified, vibrating through my chest cavity. I forced myself not to turn around, because if I did, if I confirmed it, the loop would close. The whisper came again, not from the phone, from my ear. He's in the room. My vision tunneled. Darkness pressed in from the edges. I dropped the phone. The call timer was still running. 04:18. I focused on the kitchen light, the smell of rain drifting through the cracked window, the sound of my own breathing. Not his, mine. The hum faltered, just slightly. I said it out loud. There's no one here. The words felt fragile. The air behind me shifted, a brush against drywall. Fabric. I didn't turn. There's no one here, I repeated. The hum spiked violently, then cut out. Silence crashed over the room. I stayed standing for what felt like hours. When I finally checked the phone, the call had ended at 0019. I reported everything. The experimental system, the device on the pole, the pattern. No one could find records confirming full deactivation. No one could explain the third call from my address. Officially, the Willow Creek deaths remain unrelated cardiac events. Samuel Cade disappeared 2 days after I spoke to him. Sometimes late at night I still hear it, that hum, faint, like an electrical current running beneath the world. They say fear is primal, chemical, a glitch in the survival instinct. But I think it's something else. I think it's a doorway, and I think something learned how to knock. Last night at 11:37 p.m, my console lit up. Incoming 911 call, no caller ID, open line, breathing. The operator looked at me pale. "Supervisor," she whispered, "you need to hear this." I didn't want to, but I put on the headset anyway, and before the caller could speak, before the whisper came, I already knew what they were going to say, because I could hear the hum building in the background. And it wasn't coming from their line, it was coming from ours. The whisper finally slipped through the static. He's in the room, and this time it was my voice,